Today, I have a great opportunity to have his time and to grab his opinion. What is exactly the current situations of Nepal-America relation and what is going on in the future? Moreover, after the Trump's administration began in the United States and since 2016, what is the strategies of Democrats Party today? I will try to disclose such opinions from my guest, House Democrats Chair, Congressman Joseph Crowley. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
It's a really great pleasure to have your interview, and thank you very much for your wonderful time. It's widely said that after the Trump administration began last year, the Democrats are totally in the defensive situations. Being as a senior Democrat leader, what's your comments regarding this?
Well, I think it's true that we lost the presidency. We also did not gain control of the House of Representatives or the Senate. So the Republican Party controls both the legislative and executive branches of government.
Yeah.
They have a unified government and puts Democrats squarely in the loyal minority.
Yeah.
And we've been dealing with a myriad of issues: immigration, taxes, the attack on the healthcare system that was put in place by President Obama, known as the Affordable Care Act. There have been just a number of assaults that I've seen coming from this White House, from this president, on immigrants, on the middle class in terms of the tax proposal that they've laid forward, and really attacking the Affordable Care Act, which was the hallmark of the Obama administration, which expanded opportunities for healthcare coverage for tens of millions of people in the United States. And it's been under constant barrage and a constant attack by this administration and the Republican-held Congress.
Initially, when Trump was in the White House, Trump started in the White House, Democrat had launched a lot of programs, objecting his programs and the executives as well. And now also the issues is not omitted, like in the Russia connections, and many issues are here. But it seems like Democrats Party are losing their voice. What would be the logical ending of all these issues that raising since last year?
Well, I don't think we're losing our voice. I think the president has been very bombastic in his approach to governing, using Twitter, and really been very irresponsible, I think, in terms of his approach to governing. There's no question that given the situation around the issue of Russia, that his firing of Director Comey from the FBI, his obfuscation when it comes to really his denying of any involvement or enrollment in Russia's involvement in trying to undermine the United States elections has just been incredible. And at the same time, I think Democrats, we recognize that we simply can't win by being against the president.
Yeah.
That we have to set forth an agenda of growth in the United States and economic security for America, and we're about doing that.
That voices came without any proof.
And there has not been any indictment. In other words, the Mueller, who is the head of the special counsel, who is investigating Russia and what had taken place, he's doing his work, and we will wait to see what that comes to. I do think that this president was not qualified for this office. I didn't vote for him. I didn't support him. So that shouldn't come as a shock or news to anyone that I don't think is qualified. But I think he's demonstrated through his own actions that it leaves many within our society to wonder whether or not he's even capable of running the office of the presidency. But the issue of impeachment itself is when a crime is committed, a high crime or misdemeanor is committed, that would invoke the potential of an impeachment. As of yet, there has not been any proof, or I shouldn't say proof. They may be collecting proof and data.
What would be the result of all everything?
We don't know yet. We do know that Michael Flynn has been has already agreed to a crime that is lying to the FBI, and that he faces considerable jail because of that. We don't know where this will all lead, but what I do know is that it's very unsettling for the country that this administration has come under such scrutiny so quickly, and that it really does not help move the the interests of the country forward.
Dear Congressman, you are the member of Ways and Means Committee, and what is your comments regarding new tax bill?
I believe that the tax bill that the Republicans put forward is an assault on the middle class.
Yeah.
It will raise taxes on 82 million households in the middle class households in the next decade. 70% of the middle class will see a tax increase. That's what that means. 70% of the middle class will see a tax increase within the next decade. This bill was written by and on behalf and for special interest corporations and the wealthiest in this country at the expense of the working poor and the middle class in our country. And I think that the consequences will be very damaging to the United States if it goes through.
Another one most important opinion since a year is United States trying to be self-centric, and they focus internal issues more than international.
Right.
Does that mean the U.S. trying to reduce their responsibility?
If that's the case, it's doing it in the absence of understanding the history as to what brought us to this point, and that was World War II. We saw when the United States sat on the sidelines what took place in Europe and throughout the world during that time in Asia. That was only through the involvement of the United States in coalition with the Allied powers that we have the world order that we have today. I do think that President Trump is retreating from that. I think that he is becoming very insular, very internally focused, and I think much of that is based, though, on the fact that the American people themselves, and the middle class and working people in this country, they feel a bit abandoned. They're unsure about their future and their economic security, and that's what Democrats need to speak to about jobs and job development creation and an infrastructure bill that will put people back to work. The president has capitalized on that insecurity, but we also see the rise in white supremacists and in the KKK and other entities, a very ugly side to that insecurity that takes place. And I think that that's also the responsibility of this president, that has taken place as well.
Regarding your party, Democrat, seeing the last year's election, it went in big city rather than the countryside.
Right.
What is your prediction regarding coming election?
Well, I think in 2018 we have great opportunity because I think the president has failed to meet the expectations that he gave to many within the middle of the country, folks who I've said have felt have been abandoned. And I think it gives Democrats an opportunity to speak to them about who we have been as a party, what we have produced in terms of economic growth and security. I remind people that when President Clinton left office, that he left our country in a surplus, and that has been squandered over multiple Congresses since then. 2 wars that went unpaid for, the expansion of Medicare Part D that was unpaid for, and then the tax breaks that President Bush had put in place, taking the referees away from the playing field in Wall Street, led to the 2008 collapse that President Obama needed to stimulate through infusion of cash for infrastructure development. That has left us in a very, very difficult position, and we see a debt now of over $20 trillion. And instead of reducing that debt, this White House and the Republican Congress have further made incursion into it by using $1.5 trillion more, actually $2.2 trillion more in tax relief for the wealthiest and for corporate special interests. I believe that we will see increases in Democrats in the House of Representatives. I believe that we have a strong opportunity here to take back control of the House of Representatives, given that the failure of the Republicans to deliver on behalf of the American people.
Yeah, I wish you all the best for that. Let me switch the issue to the immigrants. Democrat Party always claims that it's fighting for the immigrants, and it's immigrants-friendly party based on immigrants. That you have a lot of claims on these issues, but unfortunately, no any comprehensive reform have done when you were in the government. And if we talk about the 8 years of President Obama and before that period as well, so. Is that just a political talking to cast the vote?
I don't think it's a claim. I think it's a fact that Democrats, I myself am the product of immigrants. Many within our party are either first generation or second generation immigrants, come from those traditions. I recognize the value that immigrants bring to our nation. I say they're the best, the brightest, and the bravest. No different than my grandparents that came here. Immigrants today want to contribute and make America a better place.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's rhetoric, and I think it's real. I think there is a dedication to the immigrant population. Have there been missed opportunities? I won't deny that. I think there have been, and I think I think the president wanted to get to immigration reform, but you have to keep something in mind. I'm talking about President Obama. When immigration reform was done last, 30 years ago, it was done the same year that they did tax reform in the Congress. President Reagan and then Speaker Tip O'Neill Democrat Republican came and made an agreement. That lasted a good long time. Those laws need now to be adjusted and changed. The way in which the Republicans are addressing tax reform is not in a bipartisan way. It's very partisan. And I think that President Obama would have liked to have gotten to immigration reform. But remember the commitment that Senator McConnell said after the president became president. He said he will be a one-term president. They're never giving him the opportunity to address those issues in the second term. That, the immigration reform and tax reform took place in the second term of Ronald Reagan, not in the first. And they gave him no opportunity to do anything legislatively in that second term. And I think that's where the missed opportunity was.
If I will ask directly about the DACA, what happened about it?
Well, here's an example with President Obama, through executive order, created DACA.
Yeah.
You want an example of the president's commitment to immigration? He did that. What did President Trump do? He unwound it. He did away with it.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to improve or to make it better, he took it away. And now what President Trump has done, he has put in limbo. He has put in this population of about 800,000 people in an unknown state. They don't know what lies ahead for their future. So yes, we as Democrats are very concerned about those 800,000 people. We want to see them continue to be productive people of our society.
Yeah, if I would grab your attention to the TPS, which is most concerned issue for Nepali as well.
Yes.
Because we are TPS granted nation and it's going to end at coming June. What happened with the TPS of Nepal?
Well,
in the situation that
Yeah.
authorities said Haiti is going to be end.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Again, demonstrating the commitment to immigrants, especially those in need of refuge after a political or war, or in this case, a natural disaster. We've seen what's happened to Nicaragua, where the TPS has been suspended. We see where it's happened now with Haiti, that the TPS has been suspended. And I suspect, although I can't say with certitude or for sure, that I think TPS for Nepal is in jeopardy. There's no question about that. But that again is a further recognition. If people are concerned about where parties or where presidents stood on the issue of immigrants, nothing can be more blatant than President Obama's commitment to DACA, to DAPA, to the parents of those students, to TPS and the extension to Nepal after the 2015.
Dear Congressman, what would be your assurance to the Nepali community who are watching this?
I will do everything that I can to highlight this issue as I have in the past. I led a letter of 45 members of Congress back in 2015 to call upon the administration to grant TPS to the population here in the United States who had lost loved ones, who were concerned about what had happened in their homeland, that to actually have them return would only create even more strife and heartbreak in Nepal. And so I will continue to highlight and bring that to the forefront so that the American people understand what is at stake here.
All the Nepalese people have big expectations from you. That you
Well,
will fight.
I will tell you, I will do whatever I can. I have high regard for the Nepali people.
Yeah, and we are almost at the end of the interview. I want to grab your attention regarding Nepal, which is facing a long-term political transition. And it's really good to share you that it's going on election time now. We have relations since 70 years. It's since 1947. We have really good relations. It's running on quite healthy way. This was that some example. The Global Leadership Report of 2012 speaks that 41% Nepalese people approve the U.S. leadership. But unfortunately, we Nepalese always feel that we are in least priority of the United States. Why it happened?
Well, I think that in this global world that we live in, Nepal finds itself in a very interesting part of the world. Like India, Nepal is a maturing and maturing democracy. But we see other examples of democracy spurring, and we see it potentially, we hope, in Myanmar or Burma, that will continue. We know in Bangladesh that it continues, and other parts of the world. But we know there are also very unsettling parts of the world as well, whether it's Afghanistan, Pakistan, and she finds herself between, in relation to China and even to Russia. So it's a very, very important and critical part of the world. And I think that the United States does recognize the importance of a democracy like Nepal. And I think that's why she can rely upon the United States for assistance in the future as well. So I wouldn't diminish.
You were busy to engaging with the regional power, India and China. That's why we were as in mind.
I think that sometimes we all can be victims of our global positioning in the world, so to speak. I would also say Ireland might feel the same way, being caught between Britain and the United States.
In Nepal, there is one of the saddest saying that America always comes with the Indian perspective. Why it happens? Because we have bilateral relation, we can engage directly.
Yeah.
Why
well,
you come through India?
I do think that India, because of its size, because of its commitment to democracy as well.
Yeah, we also do have a big democracy, and we are.
Oh no, I know that.
Federal Democratic Republic.
But I don't see them as mutually exclusive. I don't think that we can certainly have a relationship with Nepal, with India and Pakistan.
Yeah.
So I think that's what America can do, and we ought to do, and find ways to flourish and promote harmony within the regions themselves. So it's not an easy task, and anyone who thinks that they can find a solution to the Middle East or can find a solution to the global problems, I think these are going to be with us for some time, and I think they'll be with us probably forever.
So America
finding ways to work as best we can in harmony. It's not exclusively through the Indian. I don't think it comes through exclusively through the Indian perspective. I think we look at the global situation, generally speaking, and do what's in the best interest first and foremost of the United States. Yeah. That's what we do first.
Thank you very much for your time and opinion.
Thank you very much.